Tonight I'm looking at 3 cases of missing and murdered children, the first of which being Johanna Young, whose lifeless body was dumped down this dirt track 25 years ago. Johanna Young was 14 when she went missing from her family home in Wotton, Norfolk, on Wednesday the 23rd of December 1992. Johanna was described as full of fun and always up to tricks. She loved music and dancing and could make friends with anybody. On that cold, foggy night in December 1992, Johanna was home with her parents, Carol and Robert, and siblings Emma and Daniel. Daniel, her younger brother, was whining about a computer game which wouldn't work, and her parents were busy trying to calm him down. Johanna asked if it was okay if she went out. Her mother said okay, and her father said not to be late. Johanna put on her purple anorak and left down Merton Road towards the High Street of Wotton at 7:30 p.m. Her parents assumed she was going to meet up with Ryan, her boyfriend for the last 6 months. He was 3 years older than her, and he had already left school and started working at a giant slaughterhouse on the edge of Wotton. Johanna was very keen on him. She used to come home from school and run out before she had done her homework to meet him, coming back from work. What Johanna's parents didn't know was that 2 days earlier Ryan had told her that he wanted to finish with her. She had lost the only excitement in her life. And in her bedroom that night, Johanna had taken down all of her Christmas cards in despair. There were several sightings of Johanna heading towards and walking around the town centre at Wotton between 7:30 and 8:45 p.m. After that, there were no further sightings of her. She did not return home that night, but her parents assumed she was with friends or her boyfriend Ryan Furman. Johanna's parents didn't notice that she hadn't returned home until her alarm went off at 6 a.m. the following morning and she did not respond to it. They assumed she had stayed at her boyfriend's for the night because of the foggy conditions. It was not until Johanna failed to turn up for her paper round at 7 a.m. on that Christmas Eve that the matter was reported to the police. It was 2 agonising days before Johanna's partially clothed body was found in Gilman's Drift, close to Griston Road in Wotton, covered in scratches and face down in water on Boxing Day. She was found after a dog walker came across one of her trainers in undergrowth near the body, leading police to search that area. Her lower clothing had been removed, her pants and tights were in a hedge and her jeans were missing. Police said there was no evidence of rape or a sexual motive though. 10 days into the investigation, Johanna's jeans turned up on a hedge in Gilman's Drift. The attacker had seemingly returned to the scene to dispose of them, but left no other clues. A post-mortem examination revealed Johanna had died from drowning and a fractured skull. The long hours in icy water had destroyed evidence which might have helped the pathologists, who could not give a time of death. Though the fractured skull had seriously injured Johanna, it was being dumped face down in the water which had killed her via drowning. Soon after Johanna was found dead, a cryptic letter was sent to the Eastern Daily Press featuring a drawing of a girl, a youth, a motorcycle, the date and Griston Road. It is believed a young man with a motorcycle was seen in the area on the night she went missing, police said. Johanna's boyfriend was initially a suspect but had an alibi for the time she disappeared. After Johanna's body was recovered, investigations targeted local men, and although 3 people were arrested and questioned, no charges were brought. The most prevalent theory at the time was that a young man living in Wotton who had liked Johanna was involved. That she had perhaps consensually gone back to his home to have sex, but something went wrong, and either she fell or was pushed, which caused the fracture to her skull, which was unusually thin. Evidence from drag marks and scratches to Johanna's back indicated that it may have been 2 men who carried her body, one holding either end, as the middle sagged and dragged on the ground. Her body being dumped somewhere so out of sight from passers-by also made the police believe it was a local man familiar with the area. After 22 years of little movement in the investigation, A fresh appeal in 2014 saw 2 more people arrested and bailed, but police said there was insufficient information to prove those individuals' involvement. Investigating officer Marie James said, quote, "I am convinced the answer lies within the community of Watton," end quote. Detective Inspector James of the Norfolk Police also added, quote, "I am quite sure that there is someone out there, whether they used to live in Watton or have since moved on, that has information that may unlock this case," end quote. Johanna's parents said of their daughter, quote, "She had a lot of ambitions, more or less a different one each time she thought about it. For a while she was going to be a motor mechanic, so that she could help to mend the car when it wouldn't start. Then she was going to be an interior designer, but she dropped that when she discovered she'd have to go to college for 2 or 3 years. She was always very bright and very artistic," end quote. Johanna's father, Robert Young, 64, said they would finally get closure if the case was solved. Johanna's mother, Carol Young, 61, added, "You live in hope that someday something will happen. You put it to the back of your mind. You get through the days, then months, then years, but it's always with you." It has now been 25 years since Johanna Young was murdered and dumped on that cold December night. Hopefully her parents will find the answers they deserve after all this time, and the mystery of what happened to Johanna Young will be solved. Amy Fitzpatrick. Amy, along with her mother Audrey and brother Dean, had moved to Spain from Ireland with Amy's stepfather, Dave Mahoon, to start a new life. However, Amy was unhappy with the move. Amy was supposed to go home to Ireland for Christmas 2007 with her mother Audrey, but plans were changed, which upset Amy, who was looking forward to returning to Ireland. The disappearance of Amy Fitzpatrick occurred on New Year's Day 2008. At 10 p.m. on the 1st of January 2008, 15-year-old Irish girl Amy Fitzpatrick said goodbye to her friend Ashley Rose, with whom she had been babysitting Ashley's brother at a house in Millas Costa in Malaga, Spain. Fitzpatrick should have arrived at her home a few minutes later, as it was only a short walk away. However, she never arrived home and has not been heard from nor seen since. She knew very few people in Spain and had no money, so it seems unlikely she chose to run away. Unconfirmed reports claim that Spanish police believe Amy was spotted in a local bar an hour and a half away from her last known sighting. It was New Year's Day and the bars would have been packed, and it's possible Amy didn't want to go home, so decided to go to one of them. She would have been allowed in, as when it comes to age limits, Spanish bars are more lenient, and Amy looked older than her 15 years. Amy's best friend Ashley Rose and her mother Debbie say Amy's always carried her phone with her, and even had it on her the night of her disappearance. However, after Amy disappeared, her phone was found during a search of the apartment she shared with her mother Audrey and her stepfather Dave Mahoon. Her friend Ashley says, quote, "She had that phone with her on the night she disappeared because she used our house phone to call her mum and she got the number off of her mobile. I saw her do it," end quote. It has never been established how the phone got back to the property if Amy was abducted on her way home that night. In August 2008, the home of Amy's mother and stepfather's lawyer in Riviera del Sol was broken into, and a laptop that was used in the search for Amy Fitzpatrick was stolen. In addition, Amy's Nokia mobile phone was also stolen. The 32-year-old lawyer said the burglars got into his property by forcing a locked garden gate. The stolen documents included confidential police reports about Fitzpatrick's disappearance. He believes the burglary was related to Fitzpatrick's disappearance, stating that it makes no sense that they took documents which financially are worthless, yet left behind all his expensive valuables like TVs, computers and music equipment. In May 2012, it was reported that an Irish gangland killer, Eric "Lucky" Wilson, murdered her. Her parents believe that this particular piece of information is credible. However, a body is yet to be found. Amy was seen out with an older man on the night she disappeared, who her family now believe was Wilson. In 2013, Amy's brother Dean was stabbed to death in Culloch, Dublin, in an incident involving Dave Mahoon, his mother's partner and Amy's stepfather. On 6 May 2016, Dave Mahoon was found not guilty of murder, but guilty of the manslaughter of his stepson, Dean Fitzpatrick, and sentenced to 7 years in prison. It has been reported that a parent who had looked after Amy in Spain had written to the Irish Embassy in Madrid in 2005, warning them that the teenager was in fear of Mahoon and may disappear. Amy's best friend Ashley Rose and her mother Debbie said the teen detested Mahoon and told them that he made her skin crawl. Ashley said, quote, "She was scared of him and you could tell," end quote. In 2015, Donald McIntyre investigated the case for his TV series Unsolved, but TV bosses had to pull the documentary from airing after her mother's solicitors threatened to take legal action against the station. The episode has never been made public to watch. Audrey Fitzpatrick claimed the programme could potentially damage her reputation. She and husband Dave have refused to take part in the show. Audrey has continued to stay by her husband Dave Mahoon following his conviction for killing her son Dean. One can only wonder why Audrey Fitzpatrick would be so against a documentary airing about her daughter's disappearance, which could potentially have led to new information being brought forward with the extra exposure to the case. It seems unlikely at this point that Amy Fitzpatrick is still alive. We can only hope that maybe she has run away somewhere and is living a happy life, and if not, that her killer is brought to justice. Linda Smith was the eldest of 6 children born to Robert and Patricia Smith. Linda adored her rabbit and Fluffy, the family cat. Linda was interested in wildlife, enjoyed reading and collecting old tobacco tins. After attending Earls Colne Primary School, she went on to Halstead Secondary Modern. Her engaging personality led to many calling her Little Miss Friendly. On Monday, January the 16th, 1961, 12-year-old Linda Smith returned to her Earls Colne home after school before going to her great-grandmother Emily Sharman's home in the village. Sometime after 4:30 p.m, Linda left with a 10-shilling note to buy a magazine for Miss Sharman from Hughes, the newsagents in the High Street, around 5 minutes' walk away from her great-grandmother's home. She did this errand most days, and it would normally take her approximately 15 minutes for the round trip. There were 4 confirmed sightings by those who knew Linda between 4:30 and 5:10 p.m. as she made her way down Burrows Road to the local newsagents. She never went into the newsagents, however, despite being seen looking in the shop's window by her friend Margaret Mattin, aged 12. A couple of minutes later, she had crossed the road and was engaged in a conversation with the local cobbler. Although there were many people in the high street, Linda Smith was not seen alive again. When Linda did not return to her great-grandmother's home, police were called. In the days following her disappearance, hundreds of people, including her father, joined search parties to scour fields in an effort to find her. 4 days later, on January the 20th, 1961, Linda's body was found in a field some 18.5 miles away in Polstead, Suffolk, beside Stackwood Road, a narrow lane at Polstead near Hadley. Her body was found by Harold Richardson, a 72-year-old retired farm labourer who had been returning home from a walk at around 3 p.m. on that Friday. Linda's clothed body, which was missing a size 1 black right lace-up shoe, had been strangled with her school scarf. She had not been sexually assaulted. Her overcoat still contained the 10-shilling note in her purse, ruling out robbery as a motive. 8 shoe impressions were found where Linda was dumped, 5 facing her body, along with a reindeer mint, a sweet sold in co-op stores. The Metropolitan Police were brought in to assist with the investigation into the murder of Linda, and a significant number of leads were followed up both in the community of Earls Colne and in the wider area. Although a number of people were spoken to by police, no one was ever arrested or charged with Linda's murder. A subsequent inquest heard that a red substance, believed to be paint, and traces of flour were found on Linda. These were matched to the clothing of a man spoken to during the inquiry. His car also contained the traces of the red substance. However, he was never arrested, and police only ever described him as a potential witness. Linda's mother Pat said, quote, "I just had to pull myself together because of the rest of the kids. It broke my heart. I was just numb. I had the feeling I would never see her again. I felt angry about why it should have happened to her." End quote. Linda's sister Sheena Kroll said, quote, "I can't believe that someone has done this and they haven't broken down and confessed. It would really help our cause enormously and would really help my mother. It would be nice to have closure at the end of this, especially for my mother, who is 84, as well as the rest of the family. It is unfinished business for us. It is not fair to my sister's memory. She doesn't deserve this." End quote. Linda's family still hold on to the glimmer of hope that there can be a breakthrough in the case and Linda's killer will be brought to justice, giving the family answers as to why their beloved daughter and sister was murdered in a seemingly motiveless attack. It has now been 57 years since Linda's murder. As time goes by, the possibility that Linda's killer is still alive to face justice grows slimmer. You can hear a disco in the background, just across the field from where Johanna Young's body was discovered. Sad to think that she and the other people that are featured in this video won't be able to enjoy such things. Hopefully one day answers will be found, if only for the comfort of the families. Anyway, thank you for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.